business owner, one of the things you want to think about is how do you start integrating AI into your business? How do you integrate it into your workforce? How do you integrate it into your processes and systems, into your marketing, and just into your daily, everyday actions so that you can be more productive, more efficient, and speed up the growth of your business? That's what we're talking about today. And today we're talking about making an AI power shift, because a lot of people are using AI in some interesting ways, but they're not using it in beneficial ways. And you don't want to have it actually replace you. You want it to elevate you. And this is what we're talking about today in our session as we're talking about the AI power shift. This is how smart CEOs are using AI today. And I want you to pay attention to this, because this is really the difference in how you're thinking, the little tweaks. And we're going to go from just using it as a tool into something that is much more powerful. So I would love to know where you're coming in from. Let me know if you enjoy this. Click subscribe down below so we can continue to bring you more of this. And we're really going to dive deep into this whole concept. We are doing a 7-figure year series, and this series is all about growing your business from profits in the 6 figures to 7 figures. Do it in a year or less without any of the stress and the struggle and the overwhelm that a lot of people are going through. And part of this series is that we're going to start every week with an overall kind of a canvas of what you need to know, what you need to do in order to make the shift in your business. And this power shift that we're talking about today is going from using AI as a toy or a tool into a total operating system. And this part right here, this is what we're going to be diving deep into today. And if you want a copy of this, then all you have to do is type down vault down below, and we will pull this out of the vault, give it to you, and you can use this as a guideline for your own business as well. And so as we dive deeper into this, what we're talking about today is going from an operator to an architect with AI and making the shift. And there's 3 distinct phases that happen. And we're going to look at how people are treating it now. A lot of people are treating it like a toy. It's not a toy. Some people are treating it like a tool, and it's more than a tool. And then others are treating it like a total system. And that's what you want to think about. How do I turn this into a total system for my business and elevate it even faster? And yes, there are people, you see it everywhere. Like, have you noticed how many people are having their job shift and change? Well, this is happening everywhere. And so when you look at this whole part, you can see going from an operator, there's 2 levels where you're looking at it as a tool, or you might be looking at as a toy, depending on where you are. And what happens is you want to think about, what is your focus? Where are you focused? You're like, I just need shortcuts and some tasks, a little bit more speed. Or how are you using it as a role? Maybe you can start eliminating certain roles or condensing them. And then how do you use it? Maybe in level 1 and 2, you're using it as a writing assistant for your emails and copy and that type of thing. So that's very normal. So then the question then becomes, as an architect, right? When you're an architect in this, how are you using it here? So could you use it as a level 3 operator, as an architect? And then what you're thinking about is, how do I codify this and turn my IP into something and use AI? How can I leverage applied intelligence, and how can I build systems that will run without me? Those are the things that you want to think about. So the shift becomes in your focus and being a little bit more strategic, looking at the structure a little bit more and more clarity. And then the roles. Where are you now like a designer of this, irreplaceable in your business? And then, of course, what are the different uses that you might have in your infrastructure, and using it strategically in your infrastructure? So this is that shift, right? To go from toy to tool to the total system. And the question is for you, which one are you in right now? Is your business now using AI as a toy, or using it a tool, or using it as the total system? Tell me which one it is for you. Pick one Okay. And what do you want to do? And maybe you don't even know yet. If you're still using it as a toy or tool, you don't even know which ones. And maybe you've noticed that with AI, things are so different now, and that they come and they go, and they come and they go. And you're not sure if you should really invest in it. Like a lot of companies have invested a lot, but then nothing happened. And if you're trying to figure out how do you know when something is going to last, should I, pay a whole year of this? Should I just try it? And then people get into this plate spinning thing, right? And you're just going from one thing to another and spinning plates and trying to keep them all working. And all you do is you've added another layer and another layer and another layer of overwhelm to your whole tech stack instead of reducing the whole thing. So do you see how it gets a little bit confusing when you're thinking about AI in your business and not having it use you, but you actually architect a new design for it? And so this is what is really important to think about in your business in the present day, because it's only going to accelerate faster as we go forward. And this whole AI power shift is really the edge that you want to have in your business. There's not a lot of people out there that have different certifications or knowledge or experience, and it's so new to the marketplace. It's only a couple years old, right? So when you might want to look at this, you look at these different areas and how can you use this properly in your business. So again, we want to shift the strategy. We want to shift how we're using it with our IP. And then we also want to figure out what is a strategy that will actually create more speed in the way that we're doing things. And then how can you actually build systems that will allow you to scale without you? And so what does that mean? What that means is that you might look at all of the manual tasks that you're doing and how can you productize them? And how could you use AI to do that? So another thing that's happening is people have very disjointed systems. They have this thing over here, this thing over here. And what you want to do is see if you can encompass that into one nice, clean system, one whole architecture. And then that makes it so much simpler. It makes it easier for your team to adopt. It makes it easier for you to utilize. And then you're not checking in so many places. Another thing is that you don't have all these linkages. Like when you look at what's happening with making more agentic systems where it does the work when you're off doing something else, it can be great, but it's like in the body, like when the brain has a thought and it fires something off in another cell, right? There's a synapse in between, right? And there's something is fired, something is received, and that synapse in between. Well, that's usually it could be the MCP or something that connects the two different systems. And if you don't have that working right, you're just creating more clutter and more chaos. So these are things that we can obviously help you out with and look at it from a bigger, higher vantage point and look at your whole system and see how you can integrate all this. Because remember, AI is not the engine. It's you, right? You're the one. So you're the one driving this whole thing. It doesn't think, right? It doesn't know anything. It's based on series of actions based on inputs. And guess what? You need to be the one doing the input. Otherwise, that engine is going to run you, and it's probably going to run you right into the ground if you're not careful. So you want to think about what is the reality that you're facing right now. How are you dealing with this? This is very, very important. And then what's the danger? What is the danger of using the tech, and what's the threat? Especially for some of you in the consulting space, who, if you know how to use it intelligently, that's great. But if you don't, what is the threat? What don't you know that could actually bring down your business or your client's business? And a lot of people say, oh, I just used AI and I give people these AI outputs. But you might not have a big enough picture of everything that's going on in their business. And so that's where you can actually get in trouble. So this is the whole shift that we were talking about, right? What level are you in? Are you in level 1, level 2, or level 3? And then how do you make that change? This is really important. You want to look at it as a total operating system, not parts and pieces. And I think really that's what's happening with a lot of people is they're just chunking it down and they're not really seeing the big picture. And a lot of people just don't even know it very well. And, people say, oh, you don't have to be a coder, it's no code. You still have to understand how the whole system works. Just like people say, oh, I'm a consultant or I'm a coach or whatever. But do you actually know because you've been there, because you've done it? Or did you just read about it, right? So if you're going to learn to swim, you can't just read books or watch videos on Michael Phelps. You actually have to get in the pool. You actually have to be doing it in order to be able to master it. And some people are just not doing that yet, okay? So one of the things that is happening is there's kind of a quiet panic, like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Where are we going to go with this in the future? And you have to, like I say, don't just look at the content, look at the context. This is very important in everything, in life and business, right? When you're looking at the way you look at your business or your whole consciousness of things, you can't just take a bit of media or a sound bite and say, oh, that's the whole thing. No, you have to understand the greater picture and the meaning. Same thing with AI. And this is where people are starting to have a little bit of panic, like, oh, what's really going to happen? And we just did a workshop this morning and someone said, yeah, nobody knows. And that's true. Nobody knows really what's going to happen, even AI. So people go, oh, I just used AI, figured it out. How do you know you did it right? Isn't that kind of scary sometimes? So this is where, you have artificial intelligence, but you also need applied intelligence. And don't just think, oh, I use the tool, therefore I'm smarter. No, you have to understand where the tool comes in play in the whole grand scheme of things. And I hope that makes sense to you. So the question is, how are you using it? Are you really using the full capacity of it? Do you actually understand the greater picture of it? Or you haven't really defined what the value it is bringing to your business? And so really it's kind of like a framework, like a stairway, if you will, right? Kind of a stepping up from level 1, which is where 95% of the market is. Level 2, where it's still a tool, that's where the early adopters are. And more and more people are getting there. Fewer people are as afraid of this as they used to be. And then you get all the way up to level 3. And that's where you're really an operator. You're kind of a category leader in this. And that's a smaller field of people. So figure out, where are you now? What do you need to learn? And who do you need to get some intel and information from? And then how can you design this a lot more intelligently in your business? So this is the PowerShift, right? So if you have some questions, you want to know, okay, I know I need to dive into this. I know I need to do more of this. I really don't know how. Then book a call. And what we'll do is we'll take an overview in about 10 minutes of your business and see, where do you have it installed? How are you going in your business presently? What's obsolete? There's a lot of obsolete things going on right now in a lot of businesses. How can we get rid of those and elegantly replace it with some of these agentic tools that can really make your life simpler? And so just go to callconnie.com if we can help you out with that. And so let's break down these 3 levels that we're talking about. Okay, so level 1, this is the toy, and this is the trap of play. Oh, I played with it here. That's good, especially in the beginning. Go do it at least 15 minutes a day and start getting used to it. And then compare different systems and different platforms. And then think in terms of a little bit more strategy and outcomes that you want. We always recommend having a base level and have sort of a base level of knowledge. And we have some really great tools. It's not easy, but you can, it's about 30 minutes. And we can sit with you for about 30 minutes. We'll ask you about 20 questions. And then we can actually come up with a base level so that you can always have something intelligent to input into AI that actually matches you, what you're trying to do. And it does take some time. So just feel free to book a call with me. We will ask you the pertinent questions for your business, and then you can put this output that we give you. It'll be a full report on all the different areas of your business, how you market, what your strategy should be, your pricing, your staffing, everything, your positioning in the market. And with those 20 questions, if you remember 20 questions as a kid, let's play 20 questions. Okay, we're going to do that with you. And then we're going to take all of your input and then deliver you an actual map of your entire brand base. It's like a knowledge map. And then you get out of this toy level. So if you'd like something like that, just go to callconnie.com. We'll help you out with that. Level 2. This is the tool. Now you're starting to acquire a few more of these things. You could even be starting to do some of your own GPTs and creating those or using some other people's. And then you're going into trying to make yourself more efficient, but it could also be a trap. And maybe you've noticed this, and it's, think about like the conveyor belt, but you also have to be careful. Why? Because sometimes you're using it as a tool in our, need to be efficient. We might get a little lazy, or we might put things inside that are actually shouldn't go in there. Maybe you shouldn't put all of your whole email account in there and all of the things. Imagine what comes into your email and all your receipts and credit card information. And what if you program something wrong? There's so many stories out there now, people programming things wrong, and it's just going robo and sending out 500 emails to your audience, and you can't stop it. So there's an efficiency, but there's also a trap when you're using it like a tool. And then maybe you want to know, well, what are the tools? What could I use? I have a free report if you would like it. And it gives you all of the different quote tools, different resources you could go to depending on the way you want to use it, maybe for marketing, maybe for email, and maybe using spreadsheets, maybe creating KPIs, things like that. And so I have a free report. If you want that, just type free report. I will get that to you and just put it down there. Make sure you subscribe as well, because we're here every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And take that, and then you can try out a few of these. But just, again, test it, try it out. Don't go all in on everything, even though it feels like a candy store. You will have a stomach ache at the end. So be careful on that. And level 3. Now this is where we're talking. This is where we live. This is where we like to come into companies and say, okay, let's look at the whole big picture. Let's make this work with you, right? It's a design that we're doing, not just a patching things in here. And so we're building out a whole architecture around your business, around your model, not just where you are today, but where do you want to go in the future? And some people don't even know where they want to be with their business. That's okay. We'll help you figure that out. So this is the level of building an operating system. And this is where things actually start to flow. This is where AI actually becomes a resource and a profit tool for you rather than an expense. And because this stuff can get expensive, right? If you're trying all these tools or you're doing a lot of calculations and prompts, and then maybe a lot of what's happening for you as well is that you're doing all this stuff, but you don't have time to implement it. Wow, look at all these great ideas. Oh, that's amazing. I came up with so many great things. But I can't implement it. Who's going to implement it, right? It's just me or just a couple people, and I'm the only one that understands it. So this is where we're talking about this AI workforce design, that we can come in and look at, okay, who does what, and teach them how to manage, right? We are the engine, not the AI, right? So we can tell it what to do and work together. And maybe you feel like your staff isn't ready for that, but there's actually a way to do that. And that's where it really gets exciting, okay? So again, book a call. And you might just need to know, am I even on the right track? How much is my investment in this? Should I invest in it? What department? Because another thing you want to look at, if you want to really be a smart CEO with your AI tools and going and taking your business on it to an agentic level, is which place do I start? And that's very key, because not every business is going to start in the same area. For you, it might be really important in HR. Maybe it's in sales. Maybe you're just getting started and it's in the branding and really having that dynamic foundation and building your authority. So you have to figure out, where do I start? And then what's the next and the next and the next? And you need a longer view of where you're going to go with this. Because if you have a shorter view, you're probably going to miss a few things. Now, not so long though that you miss when you need to pivot. And this is very important. So what you want to do is shift it, right? And this is going to keep shifting, right? AI is the worst it's ever going to be today. It's only going to get better. But are you? Or do you get too caught up in like, this is my system, and then you put your blinders on and then you don't look anymore? Then you might miss something. So here's the pivot I want you to start looking at is make it a little bit, more intelligent for you. Okay. Stop worrying about the generic content. Write me an email, create 30 days of content or something like that, and start not asking for ideas, but start giving rules, telling it, this is where I need to architect it this way, right? So that you're actually going from scattered content to a scalable strategy. And this shift is going to have AI actually structure a much more unique experience for you. And that's really what you want, right? You actually want to be in control. You don't want it in control of what you're doing. So I hope this is making sense so far, right? And it's really first principles thinking if you think about it. And the problem is we get a little caught up on what we're doing and then we miss the bigger picture. And this is what I really am trying to get into your heads, is that as you're running a business, whether you're consulting and running someone's business or you're trying to run your own business, you have to be able to distinguish the forest from the trees. And can you do that? Are you doing that in your business? That is really the big question. So now, remember, if you don't have a framework, some mode, some model, and your own IP, then you're replaceable. See, your IP is the moat around your business, and this will keep others from copying you and from following you and taking your ideas. So what is the moat in your business? And this is what's really wonderful, especially when we build out a knowledge base for you, is that then you can actually be distinguished. And that knowledge base will understand what your competitors are doing and what you can do better, right? What they're pricing at and how you can price better. The markets you have and the markets they have. So this is why you want to look at this from an intelligence standpoint, not just from a tool standpoint, okay? And so you really want to look at decision making and use decision making, but where you don't have to be there all the time, right? That's the beauty of building out these agentic type systems into your business. And you don't want to be relying on AI for generic things. And what you want to do is execute your unique methodology. And if you don't have a unique methodology, hey, we're called the Iconic Brands for a reason. That's what we do, is build out an iconic brand structure for you and the whole story behind your business. And that story, and you tie that story with your AI, now that is what builds a powerful moat in your business. So it is kind of a mindset shift, right? And isn't everything, right? When the market is changing that fast, we have to be flexible and nimble. And you can add rigor to your principles, but not necessarily to your process. So you can think like an operator and like, okay, we do this and we're looking for shortcuts, we're looking for hacks, and we just use it for content and email and little output. But what you want to do is now shift, okay? Come to the red line over here on this side and be the architect. And now you can actually do your own inputs and put in your own strategy and direction and look for different ways that you can leverage AI rather than just digesting it. And where you're more in control, where you put in, you're asking, hey, how can I build this as a system that's impenetrable, that's unbreakable, unstoppable? That's what you're trying to do. And unique. Because remember, if you're using a lot of AI in your business, where it's getting the content oftentimes is from the whole wide internet, everyone's input, unless you have a closed system. And so we have closed systems and we use open systems depending on the industry. And when you're in an open system, you are a little bit more at risk of the AI hallucinating. And this is why it's so important to architect what you're doing with AI. This is the power shift, right? This is why you need to start with a really solid brand base. And if you don't really have a brand, like you have a company and you have a name, but let me ask you, here's a great question for you. This is like where most people fail when I look at a business. And I can ask you, if I go to your website, what does it say? What's the main headline? Again, we did this today in a workshop. And you know what the main headline was on their website? The name of their business. Well, duh, right? We know that's your business because that's where we went. You don't have to be redundant and put it as a headline. So that's not going to get me to stick. So you have to figure out, what are some of these ways I can start building this brand and then input this amazing vision of my business and the story and the future and the uniqueness and our incredible mechanisms into AI. So now it's bringing back content that actually matters, that actually sets me apart from everybody else. That's how you want to be thinking. This is that mindset shift that I want you to think about, right? It's, AI is artificial intelligence. What you need to do is put in architectural intelligence, really architect, where am I going to go with this? How am I going to have this look? And that will change your business, right? Because you want to look at getting to the point where your systems and your foundation is good so you can scale your business. But don't scale it too soon, because if you're scaling a messy system, all you're going to result with is chaos. And so you want to go and have sort of this automated delivery that's going on, like an infinite loop, all right, where everything is running smooth with or without you. And that's really the shift. That's the goal that you're trying to get to and to scale into. And it can work really beautifully, or it can be an absolute nightmare. And this is the nightmare that I think most people are going through, is that content trap. They're just using it generically and they're not really developing authority. They're just developing volume, lots of volume. But if the volume doesn't have a bite to it, you're still not going to get any more business, any more clients or growth or profit. You're just going to get overwhelmed. And so you really have to clarify your thinking first, and then you can really dive into this. All right. So what's the outcome is that you just want to be irreplaceable. And you want to build something, a structure that is seen anywhere, but that you're the architect. Okay. And AI is the infrastructure. That's the difference. So if you understand everything we're talking about, we want you to do this. We want you to stop dabbling and start architecting with AI. Think of it in a different way. And that means you can't do this alone. You need somebody to help you. You need someone to look at it with a different eye, from a different perspective, and that will take you to the next level. So we're happy to help you with that. Just go to callconnie.com or iconicbusinessadvisors.com. My team and I, you can hop on a quick 10-minute call. Don't worry, there's nothing we can sell you in 10 minutes, but we can give you a tip or a few ideas that will move you forward, break through the blocks that you have, and overcome the hurdles that you're facing right now, and do it in 10 minutes. Costs you nothing but 10 minutes of time, but it could make you a fortune. So if you're thinking about this, how do I do this now? How do I actually take advantage of it? We are 6 weeks in to our series. We're halfway through the 7-figure year series, and we have all of this in a vault. If you've missed any of the prior weeks, we're on week 6 right now. You can catch all of the prior weeks in the vault with all of the canvases that we have. We have a workbook, a playbook for every single week, because this is our specialty. Adding 6 to 7 figures into your revenue and show your profits in the first year that we work with you. And it's very simple. And everything we do comes down to 4 steps. If you think I'm too overwhelmed, I can't do this, I got to get through this and this and this first, that is the exact reason why you need to give us a 10-minute call, because we'll show you how to do this, right? But I hope you learned something today. Hope you understand this is a mind shift. Next week is going to be really cool. So come back for week 7 next week, Tuesday around 1 o'clock. We will be live. Put your comments down here. Go ahead and subscribe now, and that way you'll get early access and you can access the vault and the entire 12-week series. And that's how we build 7-figure businesses in 1 year or less. We're just condensing it and compressing time so you can see everything in 12 weeks. So what you want to do now is come back next week. And in the meantime, go ahead, be iconic, and leave some comments. Let me know which series you missed, 1 through 6. We'll get it to you, and we will see you next week.